This is April. Welcome to A Little Help Podcast, where understanding life cycles can lead to bigger and better changes. We got Minnie here. And Mike. Mike will be in the background,
Well, kind of.
So we're starting season 2. And as we left off, I said that I would write a letter to my younger self.
Mm-hmm.
Minnie's been dying to hear this letter.
Dying? Stretch.
Okay. Anyway. All right. So here we go. I was nervous writing this letter, you guys. I really was. But it's my truth. Okay.
You ready to share your truth?
If it'll help others out, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. To my younger self. I know you're sitting there watching your mom haul bricks and bust out the back wall because your dad's been taking his time to build the new addition onto the house. While you stretch and kick in your mom's belly, you will be number 6. Hopefully, this will answer some of your whys. Why I'm crazy, her busting out a wall while she's pregnant with me. Okay. She decided to name you April when she heard another little girl called by that name in a store. Dad got busy and built that new addition. You grew up in a big, beautiful home. Your parents love you all in their own way, and like most parents, they do their best to keep their children safe and protected. But did they? You were one of 7. We laughed, played, we did a lot of fighting, and loved each other. Our parents gave us what they could. Birthdays felt magical, and Christmases were the best. Yes, they were spankings when rooms weren't clean, dishes weren't done, dinner untouched. You get the picture. Then you hear, it hurts me more than it hurt you. Never understood that saying until you had your own children.
I was about to say, how come you used to say it to me if you didn't understand it?
You didn't let me finish.
Oof.
Okay. I guess you can say love was present even in discipline. School, you did just enough to pass and got your diploma. Later in life, you went back to get an associate's degree and graduated with honors. Church was too confusing, too young to understand, but I did know. But you enjoyed the candy getting passed around. Okay, the outings. You guys had station wagons. Mom would always turn around and count heads to make sure you were all in the car. You grew up with the best music, the kind that you all still listen to, and the best TV shows, which most are still running today. Dad's barbecue in the backyard was a whole vibe. You loved slow songs and cried watching sad movies. You loved going over to Grandma's house and spending time with your aunts. You saw them as real hip. Swimming became your thing, fast and focused. And then came your first heartbreak, dating that boy on the swim team. It stung, but you healed. Still, you found yourself in a cycle, relationship after relationship, each one a little more broken than the last. You ask yourself, if I was really protected, how did I end up shattered? A friend helped me lean on God. Church started to make sense. Your spirit began to heal. You became a mother twice. You also ended a pregnancy. And in all of it, you carried everything. Nurse, teacher, chef, chauffeur, stylist, counselor, coach, protector, financial manager, prayer warrior, and more. Even while you worked, you were sick. Some days I would go to work and I would just push on through. Okay, I'm sick. Let me go home and, okay. So always had a job. You held it all together. You stayed strong because you had to. Then came a storm. a failed marriage, lost your home, cars, credit, starting over at your mom's house. Then you lost your first oldest sister. You lost your dad. And you lost your mom and your third oldest sister. You left your job in Indiana and moved to Vegas with only faith to lean on. Let's go back to, was I really protected? Okay, Minnie's looking at me. Stop looking at me.
Why?
Let me get through this last part.
Okay.
Okay. Let's go back to, was I really protected?
Need a triangle? Why is that part so emotional for you?
Okay, here we go. Try to get through this.
Okay.
At 7 or 8 years old, you experienced something no child should. You lost your innocence, not by choice. And you buried it so deep. You never told Mom. Is this where you lost loving yourself and not knowing your worth? You kept it quiet. This silence followed you for decades. It wasn't until 2025 that the words finally left your lips when you told a friend that you were going to start a podcast and had to tell your whole truth to help others. So you finally told her this part of your life. But God, who through this journey carried you, never left you. He taught you to forgive and love. Even in your silence, your sorrow, your survival, He was there. So dear younger me, I see you, I love you, I forgive you, you made it, and you're still rising. With love, me. So it's now for Minnie, Mike, for questions and answers to my story.
Well,
They're quiet. They're silenced.
That was breathtaking. That's why.
yeah. That was
Really?
good. That was a lot.
It was a lot. And it was so hard for me to tell my truth. But I had to.
How do you feel now that you've said it?
I'm glad I got it out. Because I don't want my fans or people that watch me to feel like I had this great life. Yeah, I had broken relationships, but there was more. Why was I broken? And I know that they have different parts of them that are broken. So no, I'm not this perfect person, and I didn't have this perfect life, and we all struggle with something. So I had to tell my truth, because what are they struggling with? What broke them? You know, we all need healing. We all need help. But I put all of that in my past. I finally brought it up, and it was hard because I did talk to one of my girlfriends before, I started the podcast, because they didn't even know this part of my life and my journey and my story. And I was happy to talk with a couple of my girlfriends about it, because come to find out that it's something that a lot of us have hidden that.
Mm-hmm.
It's different parts that I was told from them, things that happened to them that they suppressed. And I was like, wow, so I'm not the only one that suppressed this for all these years. So I feel like it's helpful.
Why did you feel the need to forgive your younger self?
Because there are some things that I've done in my past, like when I mentioned the abortion.
Mm-hmm.
I was young, and that was a choice, a decision that my mom had to make.
Mm.
And I felt bad, as I got older and thought about it, to have to put her in that position to make that type of choice, because she has to answer to God also, just as I do.
Mm-hmm.
And she had 6 girls, So how many more of us had to go through that? That's not talking about it, that she had to help and make that decision for any of my other sisters.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I want to say, that's a forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I want to take it back from the top. I took some notes as you were talking, and the first thing you mentioned was your dad being a bricklayer and your mom being pregnant with you and busting out walls, and like if he's not gonna do it, I'm gonna get it done myself.
Well, she tells me the story of the house was small, and it was I was going to be number 6, and there was a couple of rooms in the house, bedrooms, so we all being piled in the room, and she was like, okay, this is it. She had some blueprints drawn up for an addition onto the house, and she had been telling him about it. We need to go ahead and start building, and Dad just kind of sat on it, and Mom about her business. When Mom wants something done, she wants something done, and that's the way I am. When I want something done, I want it done. I don't like to wait.
Mm-hmm.
So she got tired of waiting, and she knew another kid was coming, and I guess she got pissed, and she had hauled the bricks, and they were at the house. Dad still wasn't moving, so he came home one day. She said, I was busting out them walls. She said, I had that whatever they used, because she know everything Daddy used, as a bricklayer. And she just hauled off and started busting out the back wall. He came home and saw her busting out the wall, and thought she was crazy. What are you doing? She said, I'm not waiting no more. So he had to do what he had to do.
With 6 kids, yeah, that's some motivation.
And I'm like, okay. And people always, they call me trouble, or they call me crazy, or they call me, and that's why I say, well, maybe this will answer some of the whys. Why do I act like I act? Why am I? Because my mama was busting out a wall, and it was a brick wall, and she was busting out a brick wall, pregnant with me.
I ain't never heard nobody call you trouble or crazy, but I do hear them call you loud.
Yeah, you know what? But that runs in the family. Certain people in our family are loud, and certain people are a little quiet. Me, I ended up being one of the loud ones. I have a brother that's loud. My mom is loud. My daddy was more soft. Jerome, more soft. Lorna, Robin, they all kind of quiet. Dorothy can get loud. So some of us, we got a loud side and we got a soft side. So, and people will say, well, you need to stop yelling. I'm like, this is my normal tone. What are you talking about? So
I often have to tell you, I'm sitting right here. I can hear you. You hurt my ears.
You've done that a couple times on the show. So I'm right here. I hear you.
But she knows that runs in the family.
That don't mean it don't hurt.
That's fair. But is Mignon more like you with volume?
No.
No, she's quiet.
More quiet until she get to drinking, then she can get loud.
Oh, okay. This show's about you. We're not talking about my business.
She get loud when she
reel
get,
it back.
She get to popping them on. Yeah.
Reel it back
She
in.
get
We
real
talking
loud.
about you.
On a norm, she's kind of quiet, but it's funny because my mom's sisters would come into town, and it would be 4 a.m.
Oh,
4 a.m. And they would be downstairs. Now, we all upstairs sleep. And the whole house is quiet, And as soon as one of them sisters came over, they get to laughing and loud. And I'm like, we just get up.
like some cackling hens.
Loud. It's like they haven't seen each other in ages. You got to get up. You have to wake up because they're so loud. All of them at one time. All of them just laughing and talking, having a good time.
I can remember Grandma like that with Shirley, with Ariana's aunt.
Yeah, Auntie Shirley.
Oof.
Loud.
It's like, I wasn't ready to wake up, but all right. Okay.
You didn't have a choice.
We gonna get the day started. Let's go.
Okay.
Now I'm going back again to your dad being a bricklayer. Where was he? What did he lay bricks for? Like, where did he work?
He worked in the mill. He worked in the mill, and I don't know everything about the mill, but yeah, he worked in the mill, and they were laying bricks and stuff, and then he would, do side jobs, outside, helping. I think his name was Joe. His name was Joe. Mama would get so mad because Daddy would do all of this work, and he would get pennies when Joe would make all the money off of the jobs, So she was just a whole nother, yeah.
Now I thought that he worked for the railroad too.
And then Daddy worked for the mill, the steel mill.
Okay.
Where, most men came to Gary to work in the mill, but he worked in the mill. He would do double shifts, midnights and everything, so he worked quite a bit.
What's it like to know that you were a part of the reason that your family started off with this very small, almost like 1-bedroom home, and expanding it to 4 or 5 bedrooms, a pool, a garage, beautiful brick all around. Like, you were the catalyst for that.
Because I was number 6 and Mom was getting mad.
She said, not another one will be in here without more rooms.
And it's funny because when you look out, the kitchen window is where the back window was, and there's
where the door was.
There's a door that you go out of to go into the family room, the big open family room, and then you go into Mom and Dad's room, and then you go upstairs. There's another couple of rooms in the bathroom and a hallway. It was
so they made one what is it? A single level home
and built a
double level.
So how many square feet did it start as?
Oh, now you asking square feet.
Like and like what is it now?
I really can't. Please.
Okay.
I have no idea.
It is.
All right, so it was originally how many bedrooms?
1.
It was a 1-bedroom originally?
One bath,
I think they
a living
opened
room,
up
and a kitchen.
I think they opened up that living room into
Later?
It might have been like 2 bedrooms. Remember the one where Hank and Jerome slept in? I think it was another room in there. So it's like 2, with all the kids. It was 5 kids, So, yeah.
Did the basement exist at that time too?
Yeah, but I believe yes.
Okay. So it was like a room down there as well. But I think that
wasn't. She had opened that
space.
up. Yeah,
it was unfinished.
Yeah, right. It was unfinished. That's when we would go downstairs in the basement and skate all the way around the basement and ride our bikes in the basement. And so the basement was huge, but then she eventually made that into a room down there. It's a big, beautiful room down there.
And another kitchen.
And so it was laundry. 2 kitchens in the house. And
then, so from that first original house, then big basement, about 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and a kitchen, and that was it.
And you saw the the bathroom was
very tiny,
a sink and a tub.
It's like more like a half bath, honestly, that they squeezed a tub into, and then they busted out that wall where the back door was and created the family room, Grandma and Granddaddy's room, and then an upstairs extension, which was a huge room.
Which held 4 twin beds with dressers in between each twin bed, 2 sliding closets, and then another cedar closet.
No, that one had like 3. That one had like 3 sliding closets.
No, because it was Lorna, Angie's, and then I had the cedar closet.
Oof. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. It sounds like they took a house and turned it into a Hilton.
Yeah. I mean,
seriously.
Yeah, it was 3. It was 3 closets.
Built a pool, in-ground pool in the backyard.
And it was like you didn't have to walk between, try to get through. You can literally just walk freely in that room with all the dressers, all the beds. Because, I talked about that when Mom would get upset with me, and she, because my 2 older sisters at that time, because Dorothy wasn't born yet, I was sharing the room with them, and I was so junky with my clothes wasn't getting hung up, so Mom was like, you better clean up the room. So I would take all the clothes and throw them up under the bed. So That was my cleaning up. So, of course, my two older sisters would tell on me, and they would pull all the clothes from under the bed and put them back. And so, at that point, it's whipping time. I got here come Mom was with the switch. She's like, get over here. And I would hop from bed to bed, And so Mom would say, I would just stop whipping you. I just didn't even like spanking you because I got tired of chasing you all around the house and jumping from bed to bed. So she would just give up. She would just give up with me.
Well, I'd be afraid of any woman who knocked out a brick wall on her own. So
well,
you know.
Well,
yeah.
I don't feel as bad about the whooping I got from Grandma anymore. She just whooped me with a felah.
Oh no, and they make you go out and pick your own switch.
Mm-mm.
You have to go on the tree, go out there in a tree and get me a switch.
We never had to do that.
Oh, you better have the right one, because if she had to go pick it, you was really in trouble.
I do have questions for the way that you used to make me clean my room and how much I hated it, considering that now I'm understanding how messy you were.
Oh, yeah. Just hanging up clothes and junking. Yeah, but we still had to keep it, because then I would have to come in there. And like I said, I had to be the housekeeper for you, for Jason, for me. It's like, look, okay.
What they got to do with me?
I got to take care of my own stuff. Now I got to come clean up y'all's room, too?
Mm-hmm. Joys of being a mother, right? Okay. Well, you were number 6, and your oldest sister was 10 years older than you.
Yes.
What was it like growing up in a house with 5 other people, but one of those being so much older than you?
We really didn't look at age like that.
Mm-hmm.
We really didn't. We just enjoyed each other. I mean, a lot of times they would be in the rooms, studying or, activities in school. And, and then we were off swimming. The first 3 oldest, they were pretty much at home. And then it was the next 3, we were the ones that was more or less, at swim practice. And yeah, so we didn't look at age. We just enjoyed each other. We played. I used to get in fights with Susan all the time. I don't know why
it's not hard to do.
Me and Susan would get in fights all the time, but we had fun. We would sneak on each other. We would. You remember when Dorothy and then we would go outside and play Rock School and.
Now tell the people what Rock
when you
School
put the rock
is,
in.
I had no idea.
What is that? What is that?
I had no idea.
Where, you got one person that's way up by the house and other kids, we're in the back, and they would, give you a number like rock, just like, right, you got a rock in your hand. You got to figure out what rock was in her hand, whoever made it up, like she'll
what
give
rock
you
was in which hand?
In which hand, and, they'll give you a number, and that's how many steps she'll take to get up to her, Okay, you all, come on. You all know Rock.
No.
I have no idea what game you're talking about.
Generation don't know Rock School. Oh,
not
God.
even just this new generation. I feel like this is something that y'all made up as a family.
But that's what we did. We all made up games. We would go out when Dad would barbecue. We would go out and play kickball. And we always had a German Shepherd. We always had a Shepherd. Mm-hmm. So we would play ball in the back with the dog. Dad was barbecuing. We was, riding our bikes, our big wheels around the block, Dad would make us go-karts, where he put a string on it. It was a wooden go-karts with wheels, and we would put strings on it to guide it, and somebody would push you. And
oh my God!
Are you kidding me? That's not a family. That's a MaxiPad commercial.
What?
All the happiness and the family and everything is wonderful and great. Never mind, maybe it's not. But
but we did. We did have fun. But
who is your favorite sibling?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I probably
tread lightly.
No.
Careful. But when you go back on your memories, you think about, all right, who did I have the most fun with? I
grew up most with it's usually whatever ones you grew up with. So, Angie, Lorna, Susan, they kind of grew up together. Robin, Hank, me, we grew up together.
So you were like in clusters almost.
Then Jerome, Dorothy kind of grew up together. So I was probably closest to Robin because we were closer in age as sisters.
Yeah.
The oldest 2 sisters were like leaving and going off, to college after a certain time. And, so.
You only had so much time before their life became a different life.
Life started moving on, but, we all, connected with each other. But I think I was probably closer to her at that time of growing up.
Now, your family you have a large family, like a nuclear family, right? You, your siblings, your mom and dad. But then the family extends so much with all of your mom's sisters and brothers. There were like 13 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have a favorite cousin?
Do I have a favorite cousin?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God.
Because y'all were grouped in clusters as well, right?
We were grouped in clusters. At that time, it was my cousin Charlotte, who's passed away, my cousin Mickey, and myself. We all kind of hung out together whenever they would come to town.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Were they the ones that you had once said when you guys dressed up like the Fly Girls from In Living Color? Were those? Was that the family that used to go out with?
Probably not.
I don't think it was them, but
I thought you said that you someone in your family used to, in the 90s, you used to do out and go
dancing. That was
dancing.
probably you and Latika or you and Felicia.
But I want to bring up another cousin, Jana, that we would go over to Jerry and on Jackie's, and it would be Jerry and Jana. So I would play with Jana all the time, and then Robin was with Jerry. So that's what I say. I was closer to Robin, and then, so. But that was when I would dress up and go out clubbing because I used to love to step.
Yeah.
And I would wear the bikini and the suit jacket. And why you got to say it was the, what did you call it?
Fly Girls.
You told me that.
I don't even know nothing about the Fly Girls.
That's funny.
In Living Color. You remember the show In Living Color?
Yeah. Is that how they dressed?
Yeah. They had the jean jackets with the bikini top underneath, and J-Lo was one of the original dancers.
Yeah, and I would wear my high top Reeboks. And, and I had like each color. I had like the gold pair, the blue, the red, the white.
You had to. So it was but that was with cousins that you used to hang out?
No.
Oh, those are just
I used to
friends.
go out with a best friend. His name was Sam, one of my best friends.
Lord.
Sam.
Uh-oh.
And me and Sam would go.
Sam is a comedian.
Me and Sam would go hang out. Actually, he worked at a job with where I was at when I worked at Ponderosa, and that's where I met Latika. So Latika knows Sam.
Okay.
And me and Sam would always go hang out, at the club because again, I love to step. Sam would be somewhere doing whatever he was doing or talking to whatever chick he was talking to. I don't know what Sam was doing at the time, but with me and Sam would walk in, it'd be, oh, you got your bodyguard with you. It's like me and Sam were just best friends, Yeah. So he was doing his thing. I did my thing.
Sometimes you need a bodyguard.
But that's how they would look at me and Sam. It's like, when it was time to go, I had to go, Sam will find me, I'll find Sam. And, we just would ride together and,
Okay. So we going to get to the clubbing a little bit later. That's later in life, right? I'm going back to 8 kids. How did your mother clothe 8 children?
Good question.
Oh, my goodness. Something else my mom did really well. Mom sewed. She knew how to sew. Oh, I wish I had learned that from her.
Wasn't that, though, kind of the thing for mothers in that time period? Like you weren't just running to Walmart to buy clothes, and you did. You made clothes.
She made some.
When you got that many kids,
she made some beautiful dresses and little jumpers and stuff for us. And then, of course, come on, hand-me-downs.
Of course.
We had the hand-me-downs, whether it was the shoes or the clothes. But it's funny how back then, even if you were poor, you didn't know you were poor.
Mm-hmm.
You had no idea you were poor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your dad is making go-karts.
Out of wood. He would get wood and have the little seat. And
Matter of fact, tell them about the doll houses that I just recently learned about myself.
You remember how we used to make the doll houses?
Yeah.
Out of towels and rags?
Mm-hmm.
Tell this story. This sounds interesting.
So me and my sisters, we would go upstairs in the hallways. They had a large hallway, and we would get like a towel, and we would take the towel and make creases in sections.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll crease this way, and this will be the living room, the family room. Then we'll put another crease in there. Okay, this will be the bedroom, and then we would take the rags and we would fold the rags, to like make the bed and fold the top of the rag like a pillow and let the rest, kind of hang. Mm-hmm. Or you could take the rag and fold it over once and pull it back in a triangle, like a sleeping bag.
Oh,
and you get in. But let me tell you, then Susan made my third oldest sister. She made the best doll houses for our dolls. And we'd be like, Susan, could you come over here? Because she would take like spools of thread to make it for the dresser. We would take.
She got real creative.
Oh, yeah. We would take shoe boxes and put a string in there, and then we would put like the towels, the little medium-sized towels, and put them in there for the car seats, and that was our Barbie dolls cars. Oh yeah, we didn't have no pink Barbie car. You know, Mama wasn't buying all that stuff. She wasn't buying the big Barbie doll house, and you know, we had some of the dolls, but all that other stuff. Oh, we had imaginations.
Clearly. I mean, that's something I always respected about kids that were thinking that way at that age.
Yeah, and we would go to each other's, you know, little doll. We go to each other's house, you know, and we would make little couches and stuff, you know, for the dolls to sit in.
All out of rags and towels.
Out of rags and towels.
Now, what did your mama say about the way that y'all were using her rags and towels?
We would have to clean up, but you know, she would come up here and get all in my rags and towels up, fold up all these rags and towels and put them back in the cabinets. And
sound just like us.
Did she have her good towels? That if you ever grabbed her good towels, you got like a talking to?
You know what? We played. We was out of her hair. We was upstairs.
Yeah.
She knew where we was at. You know, we just played with each other, and we had fun. You know, we would even pull out the game of Monopoly, the game of Life. We played all them games. Clue.
You know how to play chess.
Yes.
Do you really? Mm-hmm. I've always wanted to know how to play chess. I've always tried to learn.
Mm-hmm.
It's something my brain just can't do.
I don't remember when I learned to play chess, but I remember one time I was at this club and they had the game of chess out, and and there was a guy there. He's like, "Come on, you want to play?" I'm like, "Cool, come on." He was like, "This is gonna be, I'm like, "Okay."
Had you already known how to play at that point?
Yeah, at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I hadn't played it in so long though, so I went on ahead and I played this game with him. I forgot it. It might have been somebody I went to school with, whatever, but they figured I was this little pushover. Girl, I ended up winning that game. He looked at me like, once I get to concentrating on, it's like, okay.
Like, oops, surprise.
I know how to play. Yes, I love the game of chess.
My coworkers brought up chess just last week, and they were like, it's such an interesting game. This piece can only move in an L shape. This piece can only move diagonal. I'm like, this sounds like a foreign language to me. They're like, you've never played that? I'm like, nah, but I think my mama is like a pro at playing chess.
Yeah, I used to
never
love to play chess, yeah. It depends on how much I feel like, concentrating. Sometimes you can, I'm not in the mood to concentrate on this, because you really got to pay attention and concentrate on what you're doing and to maneuver the board. Yeah. So,
how did it feel as you became a parent to then have to start playing those games with us? Because I would whip Monopoly out in a second, or Yahtzee. I think that's how I learned how to do math pretty quickly, playing Yahtzee with you, like quick numbers in my head. And I used to make you play gin rummy all the time. I still like playing gin rummy.
It's another game I don't know how to play.
And sometimes she would get on my nerves and she would want to play, and I'm like, no, I'm not playing. Because mind you, I'm raising 2 kids and working and tired. So sometimes I would play and didn't mind, and sometimes I would be too tired to play. And I don't know why you didn't play with your brother.
Because he's not good at math. Both of those games require quite a bit of math.
Anyway, but I didn't mind. Yeah, I would play with you guys sometimes with some of the games and stuff. Just depend on how I was feeling. Mm-hmm.
But you enjoyed it more with your siblings? That's what I'm hearing?
Well, because I didn't have a job to go to. I didn't have kids to raise.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
So we played a lot of games.
Tell me about these magical birthdays and Christmases.
It was magical to us, because on your birthday, Mama was going to get that box cake. Mama did not buy what you call it, the store bought or
bakery.
No, was none of that. She went and got the box. She went and got the icing, and she whipped it up, and we had our cake. She knew what we liked, what kind we wanted. We had the candles and the cake, and she would do it like the bundt cake, the real round bundt cake. She bring the ice cream up, and all of the sisters and brothers would stand around and sing happy birthday to whoever birthday it was. Mm-hmm. You blow out your candles, you get your cake, and you always got the present that you wanted, So we celebrated with each other. We really weren't allowed to have friends over.
Yeah, I remember that.
You
We
know,
weren't
so because we couldn't have friends over and stuff, we was all we had.
Do you know why you weren't allowed to have friends?
Grandma would tell us, don't have all these neighborhood kids in her yard.
I could see that.
Yeah, you know, Mom she was a very private person. She didn't like all of the people in and out of her house.
Yeah.
And she, you know, Mom didn't trust a lot of people. She wasn't that open.
But I have a feeling if anybody did come over, she treated you like family. Probably.
Well, if
right?
they did come over, they were family.
It was pretty much the cousins or you know,
It was
family.
the house was the spot. People were always coming over, but it
Yeah.
was always like her siblings' children.
Right, it was always her siblings' children that was always there. And it was always a sibling that matched one of our ages that we all, you know, played with. So, yeah.
Going back to the birthday cake, I'm just curious. Do you remember what everyone's flavor was that they wanted for their
Not
birthday?
everyone. She either made yellow.
What was yours? Like, for your birthday, you knew
I like
she was...
chocolate. I was a chocolate, you know.
You think that's where I get it from?
I don't know.
My favorite cake is chocolate on
mine
chocolate.
too.
Because she would either she was just box cake, a yellow cake, or a chocolate cake. She wasn't doing all the fancy. She was not doing all that. But I think at one point, her and my little sister went and took cake decorating classes.
Oh, wow.
So you got to ask Dorothy about that. But they would come in with their little stuff and their little squeezing things and was, you know, and I was like, oh, okay. You know, at that point I was. You know.
Do you think that has anything to do with why, like, you make birthdays such a big deal now?
Do I?
Yeah. Like, you will say, well, what do you want to do for your birthday? Or, you know, where do you want to go out to eat? And I'm like, I don't really
No,
wanna
I do you
anything.
like that. I'd be like, I don't want to do nothing big for my birthday. It's just another day, you know.
But I say that, and you be like, nah. Like this past birthday, I went to Chicago, hung out with my friends. Best friend got engaged. This was like highlight of my life. Spent time with my granny, which was amazing.
Yeah, that was amazing.
I come home and you got the whole kitchen island decorated with confetti and little princess glasses and gifts and cards.
Thrown all over the table. Your dog had, don't forget, she had her little...
Like a little... The thing that you put on a present, the little
spirally things you put on a present. I put it on her little collar.
I looked at her and said, what the hell is on your neck? But like, I wasn't expecting
And then
that.
I had made a German chocolate cake.
I was expecting that.
Oh.
I had made her a German chocolate cake.
That was my only request. Is
I would just
either
like to
a chocolate on
clarify.
chocolate or a German chocolate cake.
Just want to remind everyone my birthday is August 31st.
Oh.
Just saying. And I would not turn down a German chocolate cake
And
from
I
April.
knew she had cake when she was gone to Chicago, so I said, you know, maybe I'll just make her the German chocolate cookies. But then I said, no, I think I'm going to go ahead and make the cake. So, made her the German chocolate
But
cake.
April, you probably did that, like Mignon was saying, because you loved... I gather that you love seeing people happy. Mm-hmm. You love making people happy. That's so obvious. So it's not work to you, right?
Oh,
and I got that effect from my mom and dad from like Christmas. When I was a kid, Christmas was just special because they made it special. And I love that for your birthday, you'd be like, whatever. But for everybody else, it's like, it's a big event. And I just think that's so cool.
It is because I do like to put the smile on someone's face or, you know, see them happy, surprised, because she wasn't expecting all of that.
I wasn't.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm picking her
All I cared
up.
about was some cake.
I think I picked you up from the airport at 9 at night.
Yeah, it was pretty late.
Yeah, so by the time we got back home,
I was like, is the soup ready?
I had made Zupa soup. So, you know, so she had something to eat. I had that and I had made the cake and everything. But no, it's nothing for me to go out and do nice things for someone. Nothing.
Clearly.
Like I say, you know, when you got a big heart and I did a video on, you know, I am a giving person, but again, you got to be careful being a giving person because you got a taker that's going to be a taker.
I was just going to say.
You got to know, you know, who you give to and who, because taker's going to keep taking.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, where do we go from that statement?
Anywhere you want.
Right? Oh, this was something that was in my mind as you were talking about grandma making birthday special, knowing everybody's cake preferences and everything. What did August look like in your household when it came to birthdays?
It wasn't everybody had their birthday together. We all had our own separate birthdays.
So it was like 2 weeks at least of celebrations back to back to back.
Well, it was my birthday. Then it was Angie's birthday. Then I was the 5th. Then the 15th was Angie. Lorna was the 16th. And believe it or not, Mom and Dad's anniversary was the 17th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know. I wrote a paper on them.
Oh.
In school.
Mm-hmm. but it was everybody had their own separate,
So she
birthdays.
would do like Angie, make a cake for her, y'all all celebrate, and then turn around and do Lorna the next day, make a separate cake for her.
Celebrate, and then too, you have to ask Lorna too, because yeah.
They were older than you, so
Yeah,
okay.
they were much older than me, but our Christmases were really great. I don't know how Mama did it. I don't know. How did she know what every kid wanted? Because whatever
y'all probably said it.
maybe we wrote our little
years.
list. Maybe we had our list and we had to give her a list or something, or we circling stuff because we would have remember the big old catalogs we would get with toys,
catalogs.
and we were
Oh, yeah.
circling stuff in the catalogs and stuff, But you ended up getting, everybody had their corner of toys, and you knew when you woke up and you went in the living room. And you look around on the floor, you would find you didn't have to ask. You knew where your corner was because
So
you
y'all
knew
didn't have
what
labels on the gifts at that point?
She just set everything out.
Oh. Okay. It wasn't wrapped?
She just set everything out on the floor. No.
Mm-hmm.
No, wasn't no wrapping, and it might have been a few things for like the older or for them or under the tree, but yeah, she always had a tree. Mom had she went out and bought real trees, and then she would spray them with that what's that snow,
fake snow.
Fake snow. It would be
white.
white.
I used to love that.
It was called flocking, I think.
Yeah, flocking.
Yeah.
She would flock the tree, and it was just always beautiful. And she would decorate outside, the rails that were outside. She would decorate with lights and stuff until somebody came and stole them. And then she stopped decorating outside.
Now, let's talk about her Christmas decorations, her ornaments. Can you tell us about those?
Some that you found after she passed.
I still have.
And she has. She would get the styrofoam balls. It would come in sets, and each ball had sequins. Mm-hmm. And you would...
And pearls.
Pearls. They would be sequins, pearls, ribbon.
Tassels.
Yeah. And she would take and make her ornaments. And we would say, Mom, can we help? And she would have a towel where you had to put the pins. You like you might have to put the pearl, the sequence, the 2 pearls, a sequence. She would show us the sequence that she wanted them, and then we would take and pin it in the rag. So she would just pick it up and put it in the ball. So she had all of these different ornaments that she would make, and they were beautiful.
Yeah, and they're still really nice. Like some of them, I was like, how is this suede?
Yeah, some of them were suede.
Like,
some
how
of
do
them
you
were,
even do that?
She would just go and get them, and we would help her, pin them or things. Sometimes she would do it herself, But even then, back then, she would sew because she knew how to sew. She would make these stuffed animals, and like let's say she would make like a turtle. Mm-hmm. And beautiful. The patterns were beautiful. It'd be a pretty pink, and she would have the baby turtle sitting on the back of the mama turtle, or she would have a whale and the baby whale, just could sew stuff that you could sell in stores.
So very creative.
She was very creative.
She also made those big latchkey.
She did latch hook. Latch hook. Mm-hmm. She would do latch hook.
Latch hook.
She would do latch hook, and she made three big, beautiful wall. They were huge. Yeah. She did one kind of like a Japanese style. It was beautiful. I think Lorna has that one. Remember the one the
one that was in her room,
in the front room,
and
then I have the one of the lion's head, and
I think a tiger. Too.
I have the lion, and Julian has the tiger head. Mm-hmm. Jerome had it. I believe he let Julian have that one.
Okay.
Big, beautiful latch hook. I have pictures of a lot of this stuff.
Any creativity for you?
Oh God, I was not that person. But I do have some sisters, that are got that creative mind that can just make beautiful flower arrangements or put together huge Lego sets of. I think one of them did one of Yoda.
Oh, it's probably
Remember
Lorna.
the big one? Lorna did the big one of Yoda, and then Dorothy. She makes all of these beautiful ornaments because they're in Harry Potter, and
Yeah.
she makes beautiful ornaments and things. They got that from Mom.
And Angie could play the piano really well.
Yeah.
And Robin too,
Robin
right?
played the piano for a while. I played a little bit, but
I have to interject here though, because you say you didn't get a talent for something like that. Well, you're right now doing something that most people don't have a talent to do, which is get on a microphone and talk and affect people by the way you speak. Now, don't tell me you don't have a talent, because you do.
Back in the day, if you knew me, people would always say, you just say whatever will come up, come out. You speak your mind, you speak whatever, maybe that's where. Yeah.
It's not a bad thing.
Sometimes it was.
Well, okay.
But wait a minute. Guess who ended up getting that?
Okay. Again.
From me.
Yeah.
Her mouth would be so bad where you need to slap her in her mouth. You need to, because her mouth is just out of control. And
Here's the thing. We're not talking about me.
Oh.
This is you.
Well, a little bit we are.
No.
But her mouth was bad too. But I would always get that,
Yeah.
the way I would talk. They would be like, did you just say that for real? And I'm like, I say, I didn't tell a lie.
Did you ever experience something like that with your parents? Like where you said something out of pocket and they...
Ooh, you better not say nothing out of pocket to them, especially as children, as kids. They didn't just say, I'll slap you in your mouth.
Yeah, they didn't warn you. They just did it.
They just gonna do it.
Yeah.
You knew not to talk back to parents. You knew.
Oh, yeah.
You better not, like...
I remember that look my mom would give me.
You're like, you better not do that.
Yeah.
You better not do none of that stuff. No, these kids today, ooh.
Well, I don't know what that means.
You couldn't do that back then. But they talk back to their parents like it ain't nothing nowadays. I'm like,
That's true. I've seen some kids, and I mean kids, talking like 10, 11.
Yeah.
Go hauling off and saying vulgar language that...
Oh, you better not. No.
If I ever uttered a word like that in front of my
As a kid,
parents...
as a child,
no way.
No, back in the 60s, and no.
And then parents are like, oh, it's time for a timeout. No, ma'am, it's time for a knockout.
Yeah, there wasn't no timeout.
No.
They picked up their Hot Wheel track. We had these orange Hot Wheel tracks.
Oh.
I got whipped with one myself.
Susan used to
Yes,
keep
ma'am.
those on hand.
Okay. You got that stick, that belt, that Hot Wheel track, and when Daddy would whoop you, let him tell you wasn't running nowhere.
Yep.
And I didn't get very many whippings from Dad. Maybe I could probably think of 2. Daddy would grab that arm, twist it. You wasn't going nowhere. He would just take that belt and just, and he didn't whoop you long, but he got you.
The harder you struggle, the longer it's going to take.
This feels familiar.
Right?
I'm feeling triggered. So you had great times with your siblings, great times with your family, your parents, but you also mentioned, my brain is gonna work in a second. Give me a second. Oh, you guys had a station wagon.
Ooh.
And again, I'm going back to this whole idea that there are 8 kids. How do you keep up with 8 kids when you're on an outing?
So we would go out. Mom would take us out, whether we were going to Dairy Queen, we were going to a store, wherever we were going, and we would be in the store. So imagine, Mom was trying to keep up with all these kids in the store. Mom was good for counting heads. She was good for counting heads. And, everybody always wanted to get in the front seat. I got the front seat. I got the front seat. We in a station wagon. We are arguing over the front seat in a station wagon as kids, so.
It was popular back then.
But the thing I used to love to sit in the back seat because the back seat faced the window, so you riding backwards in the station wagon, or you had the station wagon where you could pull the seat down. They got hip there, you pull the seat down and it's flat. Look at Mike, he over there, yeah.
Yep.
And we would all be sitting back there on the flat, But before she pulled off, she would always turn around and count heads to make sure all her kids was in the car. And it was one time I wasn't in there. I was still in the store. I think we went to Risk. It was a toy store. And I was still in the store. And thank God she turned around to count heads because one of us was missing. So she went in and, of course, come on here, get in this car.
Do you get a whooping for something like that?
I didn't.
You probably should have.
I didn't. And you know what? I got a whooping for not liking pancakes.
Okay.
My mom said that she would take me to the doctor, and the doctor thought that I was, malnutrition because I was so little and that she wasn't feeding me. So, we get up and have breakfast, and we were having pancakes one morning, and I just don't like nothing with syrup. And she wanted me to eat these pancakes.
So
and
pancakes, no
I'm like,
waffles,
Mom, I don't
French
want
toast.
no pancakes. I kept on, and I couldn't go to school until I ate them pancakes, and I had to kind of force them in, and I threw them all up, and I ended up getting a whooping for that. And to this day, I don't want nothing with syrup. I don't want no pancakes, French toast, waffles. No.
What did you start doing with the pancakes or the food that you didn't like?
A lot of times, either we had a dog, or we had this big old freezer that went across the wall. The back wall was huge. Mm-hmm. Back then, they had them big freezers, deep freezers, and I would throw the food back there. Or you
didn't care about.
And it's funny because we didn't even know nothing about mice.
Oh, you mean like behind the freezer?
Behind the freezer.
Okay.
And then she would pull the freezer out sometime to clean the freezer. And that's when she said, I would find hot dogs and pancakes, and I would find like liver. We didn't like liver. So, yeah.
Oh, that must have been nasty after a few weeks back there.
Yeah.
I smell bad. I'm thinking about all the bugs.
Well, mom was a cleaner. Now she cleaned house. She deep cleaned. She didn't just go and pick up and wipe and
So y'all didn't also get a whooping for wasting her food?
No, just if you didn't eat, you gonna sit at that table till you eat your food. Because back then it was like eat all your food. That's why we all ended up so doggone big because you had to clean your plate as a kid. So you grow up. You can, even though you full, you still eating because you remember you got to clean your plate.
I think that's something that a lot of people are not aware of when it comes to obesity, that mentality back in the day where it's like clean your plate or you gonna sit here all day, where it's like, or I could just eat as much as, my stomach is telling me I should and be done.
And then stop.
Struggle with that now.
Eat to live, don't live to eat.
But then there was also after dinner, then you go out and play for the rest of the afternoon and evening. I remember that. So I'd have a big dinner at, grandma's house and then, all right, now go outside and go ride your bike for an hour.
And we did that.
So,
and we played. We weren't sitting in the house. We didn't sit and play on the phone. We didn't have phones. We didn't have these video games. We had to go outside and play. We were jump roping. And one thing I never learned how to do was double dutch. I never could.
I can't double dutch either.
Yeah,
I can do that.
Oh.
I mean, let me rephrase that. It's been 30 years, so I don't know that I would try it again, but I actually was pretty good at it.
But we would go out, the neighborhood kids and everybody. We'd be out there playing kickball and double, jump roping, turn the jump rope, kickball. Daddy would tie a tire on the tree, and we would swing from the tire from the tree. We would climb trees,
How come when I tried to climb the tree, we would get yelled at?
Maybe she got a little more sensitive with her grandkids. I don't know. I guess
she had them plum trees out there.
No, you couldn't climb those. Oh, at that time those were her plum trees. Oh no, we had the regular the actual brown tree out there at the time. So those were the trees we were climbing.
I'm like, we could climb the plum tree.
Yeah, that's the ones he would put
didn't.
the tires on, and them plum trees wasn't holding no tires.
No.
Yeah, we was tree climbers, and yeah.
Why plant a plum tree if you can't eat the fruit?
Why you ain't asked your grandma that when she was here?
I don't know. I just thought about that right now. Like,
why couldn't you eat the fruit? I don't even like plums, so I wouldn't have ate it anyway.
They never really grew for you to be able to eat them like that. They would just make purple splats.
That's true too, because my grandma had in her backyard an apple tree, but it was like a crab apple tree.
What is that? Oh.
So like crab apples are just nothing but sour and small and nasty. And so I think there were some fruit trees that just because they bared fruit wasn't meant to be eaten. So it might have been one of those. It was just
Okay.
I do not know.
Yeah. I'm totally guessing. I could be wrong.
She did. She had four really pretty plum trees out front. She dug up those other trees and planted those.
We talked a lot about your childhood based on the story that you told us today, the letter to your younger self, but I feel like we still haven't even touched the surface. Where do you think we go from here in our next episode? What's something that you want to talk about?
Well, your nosy self said that we were going to, at this point, season 2, that we were going to go and dissect this letter.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of what we've been doing today. Right.
We're dissecting the letter. Of course, we'll get into other sections of the letter that your nosy self want to know about.
Why does this make me nosy? This was your idea to write a letter to your younger self.
She said, yeah, let's do that, and I can dissect it, I'm like,
oh, so there was an ulterior motive.
No.
Yeah.
It truly was not.
But I guess we'll just keep on going on down the letter, and whatever you want to know or you want to talk about, because we still have relationships, marriage, swimming, grief. We have a lot to break down, and again, for my audience that want to know my story and see that it wasn't perfect, and that, if it could help them, because I know they've been through some stuff. We all been through some stuff, and I'm willing to talk about it. And I even feel like in the comment section, if they have questions that they want to ask, or need some advice on, put it in there. I can talk about it on a quick clip.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anything that they're having trouble with or struggling with, or something that I've been through and know about, because everything I talk about, I've been through it,
Are there any parts of this that maybe you're not looking forward to or feel like you're not ready to talk about yet?
I could talk about any of it. The answers that I give, you may not like.
Why, though? Because they're too honest or because they're too painful?
And who is you?
Well, the audience may not like, and everything is not to be known. I mean, everything is, some things I can, really speak on and go into depth with, and some things I can't.
But you seem like a really open book. Like you're just not, I don't believe there'd be much you're not comfortable talking about. I mean, you've discussed quite a bit in the last, however 10 episodes, last season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But like Mignon just said, is there something that you already know in your mind I will not talk about?
Yeah.
So you do definitely have things that are going to remain April's secret.
Yes.
Fair.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to ask. Don't worry. I'm getting this look.
I opened up, and there are things that I will, throughout my whole podcast, since I've been doing a podcast, if you notice, I don't mention, names, whether, if it's someone I'm dating, or, I might throw out a sister or brother, something crazy, but name calling, I try to stay away from that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
But everything else, I could talk about it. Mm-hmm. Pretty much whatever's in here.
Do you think that when you were writing the letter, you kept to the things specifically that you would be more comfortable talking about?
I would do what?
That you kept to the things specifically that you would be more comfortable talking about?
I just try to just literally tell the story, and hopefully I, told mostly everything, don't leave nothing out. And as we break it down, I can go more into depth about a lot of the things that I talked about, because that would have just been too much to write, to keep on and, trying to pull and dig. And, so yeah, it was so much to write about. Mm-hmm. So again, with like you said, we'll break down the letter, and then I can go more into depth about certain situations that I've been in, and yeah.
Okay.
And that would, help the audience, because maybe they've been in these situations, or,
Yeah, you've definitely talked about things that I know, at least for me personally, because I'm sitting in on every single episode, that you may say something that's a relatable situation to you, but it triggered something totally different in me. It reminded me of something totally unrelated to what you were discussing, but I thought about it in a different way. The situation was different, but the result was the same, kind of. So I think a lot of people that listen to you probably get that as well. It's like, well, I don't really relate to that specifically, but the results or the thought process definitely helped me.
Yeah, and I try to keep it simple.
Sure.
I try not to get technical because, again, I have listened to some podcasts and people do kind of tell some of their story, whatever, but they go so technical with it. And it's like, keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it simple where people will understand your pains, your hurt, what you've been through, how you got out of it, how and I'm a simple person and I keep things, how do you say, I keep shit simple.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
I keep it simple.
You do.
Where you can understand what I'm saying and where I've been and what same thing you're going through. I've been there, done that. I'm not just on here telling stories. I'm speaking my life, my truth, what I've been through. So you don't have to go through everything I've been through. You can skip some steps, some years, some time, and don't do that because you saw where I ended up at doing that.
Mm.
Even when we get deep off into the relationships and dating and marriage and the red flags and the game plan and don't do it. Love you. Know your worth. And I think this is where we're going to end this one.
Yeah.
This one went by so fast.
It did.
Today. Thank you for having me on with you, by the way.
I'm glad
I enjoyed it.
I welcome you in, and I knew that you would have questions after this letter.
For sure.
She was going to have questions, but we're going to end it on this note. And I enjoyed you all. I actually enjoyed writing the letter. It was difficult. It's hard telling your own story. Oh, it's very hard.
Mm-hmm.
So continue to love, have faith, and believe in your dreams. God can do all things. Just ask for a little help.
Just a little bit.
Little bit. Just a little bit. Peace.
Bye.